Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. We are here to talk to you a little bit about three programs in the college: the electrical engineering, the computer engineering, and the photonic science and engineering programs. So we'll start by introducing ourselves. I'm Dr. Parveen Wahed. I'm the Associate Chair for the ECE Electrical and Computer Engineering Department. I'm also the undergraduate coordinator, which means I meet with all of you and I help with your course selection and so forth. Along with me, we have Ms. Charlese Hilton Brown here. She is the academic advising coordinator. You will be seeing a lot of her because she will help you much more with the advising for the curriculum, what classes to take and how to work through your 4 years here at UCF. And then we have Mr. Mike McKee. He's the associate director for the undergraduate program in the Photonics Science and Engineering program. Okay, so in this presentation, we are going to point out a few things that you really need to keep in mind from the time you come to UCF till the day you graduate. And many of these things are very important, so please pay attention. So in our presentation, first we'll start with what we're calling student success in these three programs that I mentioned. How do you need to get prepared? What do you need to do to be successful in your pursuit of your undergraduate degree, right? The second thing we'll talk to you is about your Knight's email account. Very critical because the only way we can communicate with you is through the Knight's email. We talk about other extracurricular activities which are very important for your career. We'll talk about some things related to the major, which is what you'll be interested in more, I suppose, as to, selecting courses and planning your schedules and so forth.
So the one thing I want to talk to you about is sort of the difference between high school and college. So when you were in high school, you typically spent 35 to 40 hours a week in school. You got to know the teachers quite well, and it was a very controlled environment. And in fact, a lot of you probably took AP or IB classes. And within those classes, they were very controlled. They controlled your life. They told you when to study. So when you come to UCF, what's going to be different is that instead of being 35 to 40 hours a week in class, you're only going to be 12 to 15 hours a week in class. So that's a typical load. So you may go, oh, I've got all this free time in the world, 12 to 15, life is great. However, here's what we recommend, that for every 1 hour you spend in class, you spend at least 3 hours outside of class, so for a total of 4 hours a week. So if you're taking a typical load of 15 credit hours, you should be studying about 45 hours a week. So that totals 60 hours. So that is more than a full-time job, and it's certainly even more than what you did in high school. Now, this is if you want an A or a B. If you want a D or an F, you can cut this back and you will certainly achieve your goal. But we want to assure that you graduate with as high of a GPA as possible. So that GPA, whether it's in high school, a high GPA in high school gets you into a university of your choice, and a high GPA out of UCF gets you a job that you want. So that high GPA means that you get to pick the job you want rather than the job picking you. So there's a lot more independence, but that means you've got to really structure your life. Now, the one thing I want to say is in high school, a guidance counselor typically was there for purposes of exams and scheduling certain things. What's different between a guidance counselor and an academic advisor is we're really going to help you navigate your pathway forward in your academic plan. So, it's a very complicated pathway. There's a lot of things going on, but we can be of great help in helping prepare your academic plan and navigating the large university that is UCF. So to really achieve success, here's what we recommend is that you create a weekly schedule. So what does this weekly schedule look like? Well, it does not include just the classes you're taking. It also includes, the study time. So if you've got to study 45 hours a week, you want to space that 45 hours out. You don't want to spend 12 hours in Calculus 1 all in one day and then go, all right, I'm good for the week and I'm going to go another 6 days before I have to hit it again. You want to spend that 12 hours across the week. You also do not forget that there is Lunch, you have to eat. You don't want to forget about this. That's 20 hours. So when you're building out your schedule, include lunch, dinner, breakfast. If you have to commute to UCF, include that. And then finally, we do not want you to leave as devastated human beings when you graduate from UCF. So please schedule free time. Don't do anything crazy. We don't want you to get in trouble while you're at UCF. But certainly it's really important that you balance both the work that you're doing, which is at UCF, being a student, and then also, you know, enjoying the aspects of what comes along with a university. Now, here's the thing. Their cell phones are great, correct? They have access to the internet, information, there's a calculator. However, here's what we also see is that when you go into a classroom, turn off the cell phone. There are studies that have shown that people that do not take a cell phone into the classroom with them can see 10 to 15% learning gains. Now, it's not realistic to leave your cell phone out in the hallway. So instead, turn it off and put it in your backpack. Because if you get distracted, even if it's a buzz from a text message, and you don't look at it, you attend to it. In those few seconds, you can lose attention on what the instructor is saying. So turn off the cell phone. But this also goes even for when you're studying. If you're supposed to be studying 12 hours a week for calculus, but you're spending half that time responding to text messages, you're not studying the whole time. So turn off the cell phone. Now, obviously, if you're going to be using the cell phone for the scientific calculator functions, then, you know, turn off the wireless so that you're not getting any text messages, so you can focus 100%. Do not give your money that you're paying for tuition to these big companies, because that's what they're doing. They're going to be trying to steal your time and your money. So turn those off and make sure you study and you focus on your lessons. Okay, we're going to be communicating with you only with the Knight's Mail. This is our official way that we have to communicate with you. So right now, pause this video and follow the directions that are here on the screen so that you can set it up. And that way you can receive messages from us, whether it's from Dr. Wahid, whether it's from Charlese, whether it's from myself. These are going to be important messages, and it's the official way that we have to communicate with you. So you can do that on your iPhone or your Android right now. Okay, you came back? Great. So the next thing that you want to check on is some of you may have dual enrollment credit. You could have AP credit or IB credit. So your My Night audit is the way to track progress toward the major. So this is going to accumulate the credit as you progress through UCF, and you can use this to track it. So when anything is closed, so this sort of represents somebody who's well into the major, because these categories here at the top are all closed. They're collapsed. You can open them up. You can see what courses are in there. But anything that remains open shows an unsatisfied requirement. It also shows in progress requirements. So a requirement is either a class or a course that you're taking toward your degree, or it could be things like, you know, you've got to satisfy a certain number of credit hours in different categories. So that's what we call a requirement. And any transfer credit that may come in as AP or dual enrollment or IB, that's going to be indicated here with an up arrow, and it could also say TE for test credit. So look for those things, and if you feel like the credit should be there, we will help you in tracking down that credit. It may be that it hasn't hit the degree because you just submitted it, particularly for things for AP and IB credit.
Okay, so remember I told you we are going to give you some information that is going to help you while you are pursuing your curriculum here at UCF, right? So the one thing we'd like to point out to you is the abundant number of resources that UCF has to offer to help you as you go along, right? So following along what Mike just said about how you need to focus on your study, and that should be your #1 goal, is to graduate with a high GPA. So both those require you being disciplined and require you having a set pattern for your study and your schedule and so on, right? So one of the points we can make here is that possibly you could form study groups, right? You find people in your class, and here we say like-minded students. That means students who, like you, are serious about high GPAs and serious about graduating on time and so forth, and you can form study groups with them. So this way you can also combine a little bit of interaction, social interaction, along with your studying and so forth, and this will help you. The second thing we like to point out to you is that make it a point to meet with your professors. So as you know, for each class, the instructor will have set up office hours when you can go and meet them to ask them questions about, whatever is going on in the class and so forth, and to get help. You can also at that time, talk to them about, if they have any ideas about career options, about academic advising and so forth. At least they'll be able to guide you, right? So it is a good point to get to know your professors, to take advantage of the office hours. It's very critical, because the 5 minutes you spend with them, and when they explain something to you in their office, it will save you maybe 1 hour of just struggling with some homework problem or whatever, right? And coming back to the campus resources, you will see in a couple of minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about internships. We have an office here which is called the Career Services Office, and they will help you get internships once you're finishing your studies. They will help you, in your job search and so forth. They're extremely good, and they have years of experience. We have the Financial Aid Office. We have a health center, which is really good. And then we have different offices that help with learning and so forth, right? And also we like to add there, we have a wonderful gym on campus, and you should take advantage of that. Okay, so now I mentioned to you how a high GPA is important. That's the first thing your employer is going to look at when you send in your application. There is no getting around that. You need to do good, you need to have a high GPA. The second thing that the employers are going to look for on your resume is your internship experience. So now UCF, once again, is very well set up to help you with your internship experience. And typically the students will do this over a summer semester. You could start in the freshman year, or you could wait till you're in your junior year, but you need to get in at least 1 summer of internship experience. So you see all these companies that we have listed out here on this slide that you see. These are just some of the companies that come out here. We just put all the big names here. They all come out here to recruit students to do internships at their companies, right? And you recognize most of these names. We have several companies which are local, which are across campus and so forth. So what happens is these companies will come out in the fall semester and recruit students to come and do internship in the following summer, right? So you need to, in the fall semester, you need to go and meet them. You'll get letters, you'll get emails from the career service people telling you when this career fair day is. So you need to go and meet with them and get your internship lined up. If you don't get one done in the fall, some of these companies, if they have openings for interns, then they will come back in the spring, and then you can meet with them at that time. So 2 things you need to keep in mind is, one is, let's say you go one summer and you do an internship at a company. Please remember that once your internship is over, remember to come back to UCF and finish your degree. What I'm trying to tell you is, don't hang around there for another 6 months or 9 months saying, hey, I like this place, I like the money that I'm getting, and I'm going to stay there. Then you'll never finish your degree, right? So once you finish your internship, you come right back and finish up your coursework. The second thing is, you need to keep in mind when you do your internship, like let's say you decide to go to Microsoft, or you decide to go to, Intel or something like that. These companies are out of state. So once you're out of state, you cannot take classes. So while you're doing internship, you cannot take any classes, except for this one time when we are in this really crazy situation, when we are doing what we call remote learning. All our classes are face-to-face. So unless you're here in Orlando and across the street or something and you can take an evening class, typically when you're doing an internship, you will not be able to take classes. That is something you really want to keep in mind. So that means when you're planning your study and you're planning your time to graduation, you want to take that into account, that one summer you will not be able to take classes. Yes, Mike. Okay, the third thing, when we said about extracurricular activities, one of the things we would like you to get involved with are these professional organization. This is something else which if you put on your resume, looks really good, and the people who are looking at your resume recognize what it is. So when we talk about professional organizations, the first name, if you're looking at the program that we're talking about, the electrical, computer, and the photonics program, the first name that will come to anybody's mind is what you see right on top there, which is the IEEE. That's the I followed by the 3 E's. When you finish watching this video, you could go and Google IEEE.org, and you will see what they do. That's the largest professional organization in the world. It has more than 400,000 members. And they have programs that help students, that help graduate students, that help professionals, all kinds of stuff they have that it is good for you to belong to that. In addition to that, if you go to our college website, you'll see all of the other professional organizations that the students can participate in. We have the Society of Women Engineers, we have the Optical Society of America, and so on and so forth. So what do you gain by belonging to this professional organization? Number one, you just don't pay the membership. All of these have a small membership fee. You just don't pay the membership fee and put it on your resume as one line. It doesn't really help you. And we can kind of see through that you really didn't do anything, right? So what you want to do is you want to be actively involved in these organizations. So all of the universities will have what we call a student chapter. So if I go back to the IEEE will have a student chapter out here on campus. You can participate in that depending upon your schedule. You always keep in mind, the study time that you need to have. Depending upon how your semester looks or how your schedule looks, you can get more involved with this student chapter. If you are, so inclined, you could run for one of the officer positions like the president or the treasurer or whatever of the chapter. But what it helps you do is it allows you to, interact with all the other students. It provides for professional development, intercommunication skills, some amount of social interaction with your peers, and most of the projects that these student chapters work on will be service related, right? Service to the community, like some kind of outreach like Habitat for Humanity or going to high schools and middle schools and so forth. So you're going to learn a lot from there and you're going to get a lot. And more than that, it will help you in your professional career. Okay, so now we come to the important thing about how you need to register for your classes and what classes you need to pick and so forth. So what you see here on this slide here is things that may help you make that decision. So you need to have that video, or as Mike would say, you could pause the video for a second and grab all these papers, mainly your audit.
So as we move into the academic portion, the first thing I want to talk about is our Photonic Science and Engineering program. So we're the only one in the state of Florida that has this degree. We're a joint program with the College of Engineering and Computer Science. And the question you may have is, what on earth is photonics? Well, photonics is light and light-based technologies. And you all have a photonic device on you, your cell phone. So your cell phone is actually has a photonic display, which is very sophisticated. It also has a camera, which is a sensor that converts light into information. But then anything with a computer chip in it is layered down with a photonic process called lithography. So we call photonics an enabling technology because it's used across a wide range of industries. Everything from the military to, there's a field of photonics called biophotonics. You're already familiar with one application of that is laser surgery is quite common. They use lasers for correcting eyes. Our college has got a large grant from the Department of Defense a couple years ago to develop smart fibers, and these fibers can change colors and patterns. And why is this important? Well, because the military wants active camouflage. The fiber that they've got, you can cut it, you can sew it, you can weave it, and it's powered with a 5-volt battery. So it's pretty cool. It just changes the way that light reflects off of the fiber. And they're actually spinning up a company right now that's an incubator company from UCF. So we have companies that are coming very aggressively to us looking for students who are graduating from the major. And so if it's something that you might be interested in, contact me. My email is up on the screen right now at undergrad@creel.ucf.edu. And you can also talk with me live when we have the live orientation coming up in the next week or so after you've watched this video. It very much parallels the electrical and computer engineering programs in that you start with calculus. You take at minimum 8 semesters to complete the degree. That is both for photonics and electrical and computer. But we follow along very closely with an electrical engineering degree until about year 2, 2.5, and then there's foundations of photonics followed by 45 credit hours in which you become a specialist in photonics and then graduate with the degree. And our students do work with other students in their senior design classes. So again, if you're interested, you can contact me and we can talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so what you just saw in the previous slide was what we refer to as the flow chart for the Photonic Science and Engineering program. And I'm going to show you now two, one for the electrical engineering and one for the computer engineering program. So what you see here are your math, Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, and DiffyQ, the sequence of math classes. And then we have the physics classes, Physics 1, Physics 2, and then the chemistry class, right? So you need these classes to enter into the courses in your major. And if you look at your slide here, the one that is sitting right in the middle is the EE 3004 Linear Circuits 1. So your goal is to get into that class because that is kind of the entryway into all the other classes that are on the right-hand side of this slide, which are all the classes in your major. Now the computer engineering slide looks very much the same up to this course that I'm talking about, the EE 3004. And after that, the courses change because obviously one is electrical engineering and one is computer engineering, right? So now we'll talk to you in a little while, a little more detail about how you pick those classes and so forth. So one thing you need to just sort of keep in mind now and not worry about it right away is that when you look at our program, we have what we call tracks. We have the electrical engineering track and we have the computer engineering tracks. There are 4 in electrical engineering and 2 in computer engineering. All it means is that we have just rearranged the courses so that when you graduate with having taken one of these tracks, you'll have a little more depth of courses or knowledge in that specific area of the track, right? If you take power and renewable energy, you'll have done more courses in that particular area and so on and so forth. Don't rush about picking a track right now. Stay in the comprehensive track. After you take some courses in the major, then you can decide which one of these tracks you want to select.
My turn. So here, this slide basically demonstrates what your first 2 years schedules will look like. As you'll see, as a first-time in college student, you'll mainly look at your general ed courses and your math. Of course, your Calc 1. If you don't have the prerequisites for Calc 1, of course, you'll need those first before going into the course. But then after that, you'll see your next spring year will be Calc 2, Physics 1, and then of course more general ed courses. Then your second year in fall will be again Calc 3, Physics 2, and then so forth. And then DiffyQ, Physics 3 if you're electrical, 3004 linear circuits, and then EE 3342. And then of course as a pending student, you want to make sure that you get all your math and physics out of the way. So Calc 1, Calc 2, Physics 1, and then of course your chemistry courses. You want to get those out of the way. And then computer engineering students, same thing. Your general ed courses, you want to get those first semester here, along with your Calc 1, and then the second semester, Calc 2, Physics 1, then some of your engineering courses, COT 3100, along with your general ed, and then of course EGN 3211, Calc 3, Physics 2, and then you'll go on to some of your programming courses, Computer Science 1, Object-Oriented, then so forth and so on. So many of you, or probably all of you, will be admitted as pending students, pending electrical, pending computer engineering, pending photonics students. And that means basically you have to complete a few courses before you become a regular student. That means completing Calc 1, Calc 2, Physics 1, and chemistry with a C or better. Not a C minus, not a C D, but a C or better. And then once you completed these courses with a C or better, then you become a regular computer engineering student, electrical engineering student, or photonics student. So again, mentioning the C or better grades, these are the courses that you need a C or better. And again, as I said, C- does not mean a C. So if you receive a C- in Physics 2048, which is Physics 1, that means you have to repeat that course. If you receive a C- in EGN 3211, you have to repeat that course as well, and you can't go on until the course that follows it as the prerequisite. Again, make note of this list. If you have to write it down, whatever you have to do, but remember, a C or better is required, not a C-. And you will see this on your degree audit. If you receive a C-, you will not have credit for this course, as far as your engineering core, as far as your major courses. So make note of that, C or better for these courses.
Okay, so this chart tends to flip people out. And so let me make it simple for you. So you're going to really start here at the top in this diamond. Did you take an AP or IB exam? Well, if your answer is no, you're done with this chart. You can move on, skip past this. But if you did, this sort of helps summarize the tables that are in the catalog to help you understand how you get credit for it. So if you, and a very common one that everybody comes in with is AP credit on a calculus exam. So if you took the AP calculus exam and you got a 3 or higher on the AP, either BC or AB, you can then skip past Calc 1 and take Calc 2, which is Calc 23, MAC 2312. If you got a score of 4 or higher on the AP BC exam, you can skip past Calculus 1 and 2 and go right to Calc 3. Please talk to either Charlese or Dr. Wahid, because if you get a 3 on this exam, the math department sort of considers that like a D or an F. So you probably don't have sufficient background to be able to skip past Calc 1 and go directly into Calc 2. Can you do it? Yes, you can. Should you do it? We don't think so. So please consider us, and we'll probably try to talk you out of this. And if you want to, go ahead and do it, that's great. All right. I don't think I would, but so that's probably the more common one, is that a lot of students come in with credit on the AP exam. So if on the physics, you get a 3 or higher, then you can go ahead and skip on the mechanics section. You can go ahead and take Physics 2. If you got a 3 or higher on the E&M section, then you'll have to go back and take Physics 1. And that's just the way the curriculum is lined up within those two classes. It is not as common as getting, we don't have as much credit coming in from the IB exam. If you do, then also contact us and we'll help you navigate this. So yes, complicated chart. My suggestion is talk to one of us. Don't try to figure this out for yourself, but I put it there just in case you wanted to figure out for yourself.
Okay, so some important points that we would like for you to make note of. Check your Knight's email account. That's how we communicate with you. You'll receive lots of emails from me. I know you receive emails from other people as well. My emails are very important. Not that theirs aren't, but they're very important. So please, if you can, just make a folder. Charlese, Mike McKee, Dr. Wahid. Place those emails in that folder. Reference those emails if necessary, because a lot of times I receive questions about emails I already sent. So please check your Knight's email. Pay attention to the registration dates and times. I'll send emails sometimes reminding you about these dates and times as well. But please pay attention to that, because a lot of times students don't look at these dates and times, and then the classes fill up before they can register. So pay attention to that. Place it on your schedules, as Mike mentioned earlier. See your advisor regarding scheduling planning. We don't mind sending an email asking, are these courses okay to take together? Whatever, ask us if you need help. We don't mind. And finally, we'll see you at the live orientation for questions, and hopefully you'll have questions for us. We want to hear from you. And then, of course, our locations. Mike McKee is located in the Creole building, room 108B. Sorry, I'm going out of order. And then me and Dr. Wahid and I, we're located in the Harris building in HEC 345 on the 3rd floor in the Harris building. And then you'll see our contact information. Feel free to contact me at any time. If you have questions after seeing this, see Hilton at ucf.edu. And then for Mr. Mike McKee, the undergrad at creo.ucf.edu also. So we look forward to seeing you, if not probably this summer, most likely in the fall. Take care. Have a great summer.
And welcome to UCF.
And welcome to UCF.
Welcome to UCF.